Welcome to the latest episode of the National Leaderology Association. As usual, I am your host, Dr. Amin Sanaia. Today is a very special episode, one that we've been trying to get in the books for a little bit of time. I am excited to be joined by Dr. David Robertson. He is founder and president of the National Leaderology Association. So we're going to have some really fun times here with a few questions that we have for him and a surprise at the end. Dr. David Robertson is a visionary leader and cognitive behavior scientist with a deep expertise in leadership. He holds one of our designations, well, our highest designation of VL2. He has a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate in leadership. The current president of the NLA, he is dedicated to advancing leadership development, human growth, and holistic health. Something you will hopefully see during our episode is he's very passionate. Okay, so get ready, buckle up. Dr. David combines his interdisciplinary backgrounds in leadership, health sciences, and education to create transformative strategies for personal and organizational success. All right. Talk to us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a while. We've been trying to do this for a little bit, and I'm glad we finally got it underway and get it kicked off.
It's really awesome to have you. I am honored to be part of this group. The work that you lay as foundation for the NLA, it's something that is going to be very meaningful. And in our conversations today, our audience will kind of get to hear how it was built, but more importantly, what's upcoming and what are we doing for future leaders, and how are we going to be impactful in the future. So we're going to start off with a question for Dr. David. As the founder of the NLA, what inspired you to create this unique organization? That's the first part of it. And how do you see its interdisciplinary approach to leadership shaping the future of leadership development?
Those are fantastic questions. So let's see, how did I go about creating the organization? Well, during my undergraduate, I fell in love with the discipline.
Okay.
I was lucky enough to, it was one of the most challenging programs in the country at the time, and I didn't really know about it. I was actually pursuing another undergraduate, and put off all my leadership classes to the end because I was like, I know what that is. And I didn't. And it was funny because when I finally took my first class, I was probably, I don't know, 5 to 6 weeks in, and my stomach just sank. I thought I'd, ruined my life. I'd spent so much time in this other stuff that I was not really passionate about at all. Mm-hmm. And here was this discipline that I was just discovering. I didn't even know it existed, and I fell in love with it. And I went to my academic advisor just in a panic, like, oh, I've wasted so much time. What do I do? And oh, no. He's a great professor. Everybody loves him. I was like, okay. And I took the next one and I said, nope, this is it. This is my calling, and just chased it. And, of course, got my undergraduate in strategic leadership, fell in love with it. But it was interesting because the foundation had been laid. Every class, everything that we were doing was really rooted in the science and in history. And, I got to see the interdisciplinary components of sociology and anthropology and history and all these things that I was just enamored with. And then, of course, organizational design and structure. Mm-hmm. It was just multifaceted. It was challenging. It was all over the place, but still very refined and focused. And I was just in love with it. It appealed to every sense of who I am. And so I finished my undergraduate, and I was like, well, great. Now what am I supposed to do with this? And was continuing on working just different jobs and stuff. And that calling was just pulling me. And I said, I got to go back. And, so after, I think it was a couple years, I'm going to go back. So I'm going to go get my master's. And I went to the same school because I had a great experience there. And my criteria for school was dumb anyway, but they really let me explore, and that was a lot of fun. And then I get in my master's, and I realized that what I thought I knew with my undergraduate was nothing. And so I dove in even more, and I just discovered there was this whole new realm, and fell in love all over again. And they were really pushing me. You should just pursue this as long as you can, and I said, yeah. And then I took another break because I was like, man, can there really be more to learn? And man, I had no idea. I had no idea just how much more there could be. And so I started to explore that. Finally went in for my doctorate. And again, just this whole world opened up. It's like every phase, there's this brand new world of exploration and fun things to explore. And, I'm a history buff. I'm a science buff. I'm a polymath. I didn't even know that was a thing until, I went to the school that I did. But it was interesting because I realized throughout this that, it's an unregulated industry.
Yes.
There's a great underappreciation for this science. It's often confused with other things, and just unbelievable confusion, no direction. And at every step, I realized, I was like, why? This doesn't make any sense. I mean, and here was the thing. This was the thing. In my master's degree, we were exploring some of the detrimental elements of pseudo leadership, pseudo transformational leadership, pseudo development, pep rally leadership, these things, empty platitudes that just wreck people's lives. And it was interesting because I started to realize in my master's, I said, it's interesting because in psychology, you have to have licenses and verifications and all this stuff because you're messing with somebody's life.
Yes.
And it can have detrimental ramifications if you're providing the wrong advice or whatever. And it occurred to me, I said, well, why then is there nobody protecting professionals? Because if you give a professional bad advice, they're going to mess up their own life. They're going to implement it into their family life. They're going to implement it into their team life, which is going to infect their organization, which is going to infect their community, which is going to infect their state, and so on and so forth. I mean, the ramifications are profound. And what I also found was, on the various studies, even the study that I had in my doctorate, the ramifications are often detrimental, and it impacts so much. And I said, there's nobody protecting these individuals. And here's somebody who's never studied leadership a day in their life. They're, maybe went through a couple management courses, have an idea of what they think leadership is. And then they're going to go hang a shingle saying, yeah, I'm a leadership pro. And they share empty platitudes and things that really destroy these individuals' lives, not realizing that a vast portion of real leaderology, the real science of leadership, is paradoxical to what anybody really knows. It's like, the idea of safety, well, we want to create these safe places and these consensus-driven organizations, and it's like, no. Do you want innovation? Do you want growth? Do you want progress? You cannot go into complacency and status quo and these things that make us safe. We have to be unsafe and lean towards risk.
The feel good, right? Let's
Yeah, like, no, we've got to get uncomfortable. We need that discrepancy and pushback. We need these things. And so, organizations destroying their lives, families falling apart. I said, somebody has to look out for these individuals because, again, it is paradoxical and we don't know what we don't know. So when I did my study and my doctorate, I realized just how severe it was. And it was funny because in my doctorate, so for those who don't know, when you enter a doctorate program, one of the things you have to do is write a personal statement.
Yes.
And this personal statement is about what you stand for and what you want to do and where you're going. And it was interesting because in my personal statement, I was talking about wanting to really help the discipline and make it a respected discipline and really demonstrate the difference, where we could protect people who need to be protected, help people who need to be helped, and really elevate development to a higher degree. And for those who don't know, here's the thing. When you look at like psychology deals a lot with the past into the present. And leaderology is really about the present into the future.
Yep.
And so there is a synergy there. But that's a big part of what we do. Now, we will deal with the past. We'll use the past to inform our future, but it is a highly complex thing. And I think some of the proof here is in the idea that, if I can go get an undergraduate, master's, and doctorate in leadership, in the science of leadership, you have to ask, what were we studying that whole time? Was it fancy quotes and empty platitudes? Or was it the actual science and strategy and the theorems that go into it? And anyway, so, I wanted to solidify the legitimacy of the science and thanks to a lot of my professors and a lot of my colleagues, we've been able to do that. And so it is a unique organization, but I also think it's highly needed. It is the American Psychological Association to psychology. That's what the NLA is to leaderology. And it's been amazing. It's been a fun journey. I've got, of course, great people like Dr. Amin here who, are just instrumental in the growth and prosperity of this organization. But, this organization is all about, the people we serve. And that's the one thing. I mean, it's got to be all about them. And so to your second question, how do I see its interdisciplinary approach to leadership shaping the future of leadership development? Well, leadership development is a complex and robust thing. It's organizational, it's individual, it's about relationships, it's about influence. And so when you think about the interdisciplinary approach of leadership, I mean, you are talking about sociology, psychology, anthropology, history, relationships, influence. There's so many different elements.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you wholeheartedly. There's so much that comes into it. It's not just about, and this is why I love leadership development at its core, that it's not just one thing. You're not just looking at one thing, studying one thing, researching one thing. No, you're looking at everything that connects with it, that goes along with it, and how everything affects everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the systemic nature of leaderology is intense, and it's grossly underappreciated in the market and in the sciences. However, one of the things that I think I'm really excited about is that it's still an emerging discipline. In 2013, it was still considered an emerging discipline. So it's still very, very young, but it's also extremely robust. You think about sport and you think about organization and individual and hierarchical leadership, followership, these different elements. It's religious, non-religious. Its applications are seemingly endless. You've got young leadership and old leadership, and it's just, I've even seen now too some of what I hate to call it fringe, but it's still new and emerging. You think about even in the animal kingdom, there's elements that can be used there, for dog training and horse training, and it's just fascinating what can be done, medical, and so on and so forth. But at the root of it, and this is what's so powerful, is we're talking about behavior related elements, right?
Yep.
So the behavior of influence and accepting and navigating various problems and resolutions and so and so. Yeah, the interdisciplinary approach, I think, requires a whole different level of I don't know, a polymathic nature, where you have to look. If you wanted to be a leaderologist, you have to be inquisitive
Yep.
on a massive scale. Like, how
Absolutely.
does history inform present? How
Yep.
does future, how do we formulate a strategy of the unknown and factor in variables that are, and how do you bring in social factors and social hindrances and the behavior, the cognitive function. There you go. From a health science standpoint, how can we improve cognitive function to enhance leadership ability and outcome?
Yep.
My interdisciplinary nature focuses in on, of course, leaderology, but also health science, and with a cognitive function lean. And so, like, how can we improve our diet just to even be able to think deeper? What are different elements and foods and supplements can we consume to enhance brain function, ensure that we're not hindering brain function? Which,
That's so powerful. That is
yeah,
so powerful. And
it's
people don't
huge.
understand that. Like, if you look at people that are very thoughtful, that are inquisitive, they're also very mindful about staying active and the foods that they eat.
Yeah, but even there, you got paradoxical natures, right? I mean, it's like one of the things that, from a health science standpoint, a lot of people are unaware of something called anti-nutrients. Anti-nutrients are often found in what a lot of people are told are health foods, but they actually hinder absorption of key nutrients that stimulate brain function, that allows neuro healing and
Yep.
functioning to be able to think on a higher level. It's fascinating and it's endless. So absolutely, the interdisciplinary approach is vital. And when we think about how that can shape leadership development, in my leadership development program, we cover history, we cover strategy, we cover health, we cover all of these relationships. I mean, you think about stress at home, that absolutely informs your ability to think at work. I mean,
Sure.
all of these factors have to be accounted for true holistic development. And so it's absolutely vital. And let me be abundantly clear. This is not, when we think about leaderology and leaderology informed development, it is not coaching like what you are probably, what most people are probably familiar with, where somebody's like, oh, I've got some experience. Let me give you some insights. That's not what it is. This is science informed development, and so there's a huge difference, huge difference. And I cannot stress that enough. But how do we get these scientists together to collaborate and do amazing things together and really demonstrate that this science exists? It's there, it's been here for a while, and there are leaderologists, people who study this every day and develop people with science in mind. How do we do it? That's the NLA.
Yep. Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff. I want to go back to a few things that you said. Um,
Okay.
First, at the beginning, you mentioned how in your undergrad you took this first course. You waited to take all your leadership courses at the end because you're like, oh, that's easy. I can just do that. And that's not a problem. Well, you figure out quickly that it's not that, right? So
Mhm.
that what came to mind for me when you were telling that story was my first leadership position. I I went into this leadership position. I got promoted, and I was like, great. Now I'm the boss. this is awesome. My first day of work, I go in there, I'm like, I made it. That's it. I'll just go into work and just tell people what to do and everything will be great. Arr, that is not real. So in real world applications, for these future leaders or people that are young in their professional careers and are looking forward to getting into leadership, it is not. I mean, my example is very real to what happens to 99% of the people that go into leadership positions. They are not ready for it. They are never put into some kind of professional program that is real, that's going to set them up and give them the right tools for success. And also, they are not really go through any educational, real, true leadership program like you did, that is going to give them that base, that foundation to have something to lean on. Because as leaders, we have to have a foundation in something. Yeah, and through our conversation here, you've mentioned a couple of things that I love. That you said, you have some of these leadership people that really truly don't have that foundation, but they know the buzzwords, right? They'll
Yeah.
say they'll say a lot of words based on nothing, or they want to tell you, oh, I seen that, this is what you should do. No, no,
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, a lot of people who are subjected to management theory
mhm,
get promoted. And so then when they get promoted into their leadership role, they're still operating off of management theory. And so management is its own science and its own thing. And leadership is a completely different discipline,
absolutely,
100%. It's almost the other way. While they're heading to the same direction, it's like completely different. It's like I often tell my students,
yeah,
managers start at the beginning, leaders start at the end.
yes,
It's two different spectrums,
mhm.
two different approaches. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah. Managers are just, they're looking just maybe a couple of feet in front of them. They're just like, here, I got to take care of this, and that's it. They're
Mhm.
not looking at, the leader has to look at the end, everything. So it's very different. So and that's hard. So for young leaders, please make sure that you empower yourself. Go to our website, look at the tool. We have a lot of tools on there. We've written a lot of articles. Also, we also have our journal, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. That's coming up. But there's a couple of other things that I did want to touch upon. You said that your school allowed you to explore. What
Yes.
school is that? So that we
So my first school was Southwestern College. It's a
okay.
private school. And I told you about my weird
Yeah,
criteria for school. My criteria was sort of, I don't know. Some people scoff at it, but it was important to me.
sure.
I said, okay, so any university that I attend has to have existed prior to 1900, right?
Okay.
So I wanted that longevity. I wanted that track record.
History.
Yeah. And so, yeah, traditions and stuff
Yep,
like
yep.
that. I like that. Second, of course, it needed to be a challenging program, so it needed to be ranked. And the other part was that I had to have the ability to explore outside of my discipline if I so chose. So
Okay.
to audit other classes. I mean, I
Yes.
truly am highly inquisitive about a lot of stuff. So I wanted to audit other classes. Just because I'm going to school doesn't mean I need to focus in on this one little thing. And so I needed to be able to explore. And so Southwestern, which is a private school in private university in Kansas,
Mm,
amazing school. I just absolutely, I have nothing but awesome things to say about them. They were very open minded, and they allowed me to explore my education the way that I needed to. If I wanted to take a class that wasn't on the curriculum or whatever, they were like, yeah, sure, fine, as long as you keep your grades up, that's cool. I had the things I had to hit, but like if it was way out of left field, they would let me do it. And so that was important to me. Southwestern was great. And again, that's where I went back for my master's. I mean,
mhm.
they were just fantastic. And from what I understand, they do a lot of stuff online now. So there's that as well, which is fantastic. And yeah, so there was that.
Yep, that's awesome, because when I was looking for my PhD, I was actually looking at, similar to you, a university that's got a program that's going to allow me some flexibility, also allow me to really pick what I want to do, what I want to do my dissertation on. All of that was important, and the only one that was remotely close to what I was looking for was Liberty University. It really truly allowed me to do what I wanted to do, because I already knew exactly what I wanted to do with so many years of experience. I, I don't need to recreate something, and I don't need somebody to tell me, no, you have to do the dissertation on this, and you can only do, I didn't want barriers. I want to be able to do what I wanted to do. And they truly did. They told me, okay, tell us what you're looking for, and yeah, you can do it. And I was like, okay, I'm on. Sign me up.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I was going through my doctorate, had three schools of mine. One was in Washington, one was in Utah, and the other one was in Kentucky. And I went through the exploration on all of
Mhm.
those, and the one that appealed to me most, the one that was going to allow me. So when I left, so I ended up at the University of the Cumberlands, which is in Kentucky. And again, they fit my criteria. They were there before 1900, and they wanted to
Mhm.
let me explore. And I told them, I said, this is really important to me, and I don't really care. The price is whatever, but I want to explore. I want to do these things. And so they let me get my. So I walked away with technically four different specialties, but three official. So I have, of course, an education, adult education, health science, and leadership, and that was a lot of fun. And so my dissertation was on development specifically, but we had some really cool nuances and interesting things along the way. It wasn't so cookie cutter, and they were very flexible. But I chose the most difficult uh, board or committee that I could, which I didn't know what I was asking for there. Um, but I ended up with a great committee, and it was very challenging. And yeah, I ended up having to kind of create a couple of interesting things. Like, so I ended up with something called a chi-square twist, which was an innovative twist on chi-square for my statistical analysis. And we had a great stats professor who was on the committee. And yeah, it was fantastic. And it ended up being a really cool thing. And from what I understand, that dissertation ended up being a model to follow in several universities. So that was really fun and rewarding. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Challenging, rewarding, and go put yourself in the fire, and find your grit.
Absolutely. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank
That's a great accomplishment.
you. Thank you.
So looking ahead, what are your aspirations for the NLA's impact on global leadership trends, which is a hot topic?
Very.
And how do you envision the association evolving to meet the demands of future leaders and organizations?
Great questions. Great questions. So the first one, aspirations for the NLA. I would hope that the NLA continues to grow. And I think that as more leadership professionals and scientists come together, we're going to hone and refine the discipline. We're going to improve curriculum at various universities, because here's the thing, this is something to be aware of. Just because a university has a leadership program doesn't mean they're teaching leadership principles.
Yep.
There were a lot of universities, and the funny thing is I wouldn't have known that had I not had the foundation that I had. And so when I was evaluating universities for my doctorate, I discovered really fast there are a lot of universities out there that are not teaching leadership. They're teaching management principle under a leadership name.
I found the same. Found the
Yeah, and
same.
it's alarming.
Mhm.
And so I see the NLA, motivating improvements in the curriculum by holding ourselves to a higher standard. I want the NLA to, and we do endorse several universities right now for their leadership program. In the future, I'm hoping that we're going to have some integrated elements there. I want to ensure that, you know, we're constantly improving, and also at the same time rejecting and really trying to minimize pseudo leadership practices, ideas, theorems, and so on and so forth, and really putting a distinct line between pseudo science, pseudo leadership ideas, management ideas and principles from true leadership. And in doing so, we're going to be improving individuals. We're going to be improving, you know, school curriculum. We're going to be improving organizational outcomes, individual outcomes. And in doing, we're going to really hone and refine the discipline overall, just because we're bringing these scientists together,
Yeah.
and these professionals together, and these people who truly want ideal outcomes. But it requires bringing these people together for a motivated reason, getting people together, putting our arrows in the same direction, and really kind of putting that wall up, and not allowing that muddiness to go on. We've got to filter the water.
Yep.
So there's that part.
Absolutely.
You know, and in doing so, of course, I think overall we'll see a better trajectory of outcomes. But as far as the association evolving to meet the demands of future leaders and organizations, I think that the one informs the second. You know, by doing this, we are going to improve outcomes overall. And then, of course, when an organization is going to promote somebody, you know, who's spent the last 10 years under management principles, they're going to say, you know what, we've got to put this person through professional development. They've never learned this anywhere. Yeah, they've had mentors, and that's great, but like, how to do it is a completely different set of skills, and it requires a different type of teaching. So what can we do? We've got to send them through a professional, not just somebody who hung a shingle, but somebody who's actually dedicated their life to the study and science of leadership. So we want to find somebody. Who do we find? Who are we going to send them to?
Mhm.
Well, let's check out the NLA site. Let's find an NLA approved, an NLA verified leaderologist to help this person really get to the core of how they're going to motivate our people and take us to our vision. You know, and that's where I see the NLA playing on the organizational side. Look, if you want pseudo leadership principles and practices, sure, pick somebody out of the book.
Yeah.
You know, pick somebody off of the internet, whatever. Somebody who, you know, spent 20 years leading whatever, fine. That's fine. But if you want strategic outcomes, vision focused, outcome oriented results, you need a leaderologist or a leadership professional. You've got to go find somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody who studied the science.
Absolutely. Research based, you know, not just because it's, yeah, practicality is good, but also if you attach the science to it with some, you know, some research, some knowledge of really trying things and putting them to work and then showing the results, that's different.
100%. And that brings up an interesting point. And this is something I'm asked about a lot. Like, what separates a leaderologist from some of these coaches out there? And I'm like, look, you know, that is a very good question, but we have to understand that a good portion of the population operates off of a perception-based mindset, right? It's all about feelings, instant gratification. It's about how you feel in the moment, whatever. No, we've got to operate. Leaders truly have to operate from a perspective-based mindset, which is strategy. It is the factors. It is the variables. It's not about feelings as it so much is about outcomes. Sure, feelings are a part of that. We're going to have feelings. We're going to have emotions. But if emotions inform our decisions, we have to understand that emotions are temporary and they can flux based on information. We don't want to make decisions, big, hardcore decisions based off of that. We need the variables. We need the strategy. We need the science. They have to be vision focused.
Yep.
And so it turns into a whole different set of circumstances. But how do we turn ourselves from a perception based into a perspective based mindset? That because you don't know what you don't know. And we also have to understand too that our biases are biases because we don't know they're there. Right. So somebody who is trained to see bias and help you get out away from that and help manage or mitigate that. I mean, it's a completely different realm, and it's a different caliber of development. Yeah, you can go get the pump, you can go get the pep rally.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think pep rallies are important. I'm not trying to say that they're not. I think that's really important to get pumped up and motivated. But if you don't want to fall back into old ways in 2 or 3 weeks or even over the weekend, find somebody who can develop you and make those long-term things that you adopt. And that's a different caliber. That's leadership professionals, that's leaderologists.
Without a doubt. It also speaks to us. I mean, so if people, I'll put it out there. I mean, go to our website, nlainfo.org. You can see our work. Look out our board. So if you look at the governance piece and the NLA, and you look at our board, every single one of us has a different specialty, right? Different background studies, which speaks to the biases that you refer to. We bring different perspectives, so we're able to really cover our blind spots for each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and while you're at the site, go to find a practitioner. Look at all these great people, these I mean, just amazing people who can definitely help you. I mean, they're all over the country. Find somebody in your area, and or in the expertise that you need, and absolutely hire them, absolutely.
Yep. So while you're there at the website, we also have a new project that Dr. Mark Rerick that was been working on with Dr. David. Uh, Something that is I think is going to be very powerful for our field, but also that is going to help spring us and put us at a different level. Can you talk to us a little bit about our journal?
Sure. Yeah. So we are creating the a journal, which is going to be leadership specific. Now, there are leadership journals out there. There are some good ones, but there are some not so good journals out there that will include a lot of management based principles and ideas. And again, so when you think about what the NLA is trying to do, we're trying to unmuddy the waters. And that's what our journal is going to do. And we're going to focus specifically on leadership theorem in its broad sense. So in all of the different subdisciplines like sport and health and organizational development and so on and so forth. And so all of those different perspectives are going to be here, but they're all going to be science-based without the cloud, hopefully, and without or the muddiness, as it were. And so, yeah, the other thing is too is we're going to try a few things that are a little bit different. We're going to invite people from these accredited, NLA verified, accredited, endorsed universities who have graduated with these master's thesis and doctorate the dissertations, and what do we do with this? These are science-based papers, and we want to do it. We're going to help them convert their work into journal ready stuff to make that science even more pronounced, and give them a platform to speak from and include them in our vision and our efforts. And yeah, I mean, we've got all sorts of amazing things on the way. Of course, other articles, from the board and so on and so forth. But, doesn't matter. We're going to cover all sorts of stuff. Leadership theories, new models. There are new theorems, new models, and new processes being discovered every day.
Yep.
And they're just not getting the platform that they need because they're so innovative, or maybe sometimes so abstract that the detail necessary to really use them just isn't there. And some of these other journals, they're rejecting some of these amazing theorems and approaches. And so we want to provide a platform for that. So of course, organizational behavior, uh, organizational development, strategic leadership,
Yep.
how leadership can inform management, ethical leadership, decision making,
How
followership
how
theories and models. Go ahead.
how about leadership in the new age of AI?
Yeah, leadership and AI, tech-oriented, neuro
Mhm.
leadership. You think about, we were talking about health science a little bit
Yep.
before, but the interplay, the interdisciplinary elements of leadership and health science, which is close to my heart, obviously. But all of these things, we want a platform. It's hopefully it's going to be a very robust, but also multi-platform for people to have not only what the science is, but also its application.
Yes.
And so we're filling a niche here where really we get to be a lot of things to a lot of different people. And you know, I don't know. It can be a lot of things for a lot of different people, but the platform, I think, is that it's going to be as robust as the science is.
Yes.
And so, I mean, it can be a lot of things, but yeah, absolutely amazing. Dr. Rarick has done amazing stuff, and I'm super pumped for his work. And he's sport-oriented leadership and just amazing stuff. I don't know. I just can't say enough about the team and kind of where we're heading, and it's
Yep.
just
Yep.
fascinating.
Yep. So everyone listening, please look forward to our first journal publication that is coming out soon.
Hopefully, yeah, I'm pumped about that.
Yep. All right. So final words. So I got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
First, can you tell us just a glimpse of anything that you're working on right now in your practice?
Yeah, my practice. All right. So a couple of my theorems: epistemic rigidity and the adversity nexus. That those on the surface they seem very almost simple, but they're actually very robust and they work together. There's that, and I developed a behavior modification model rooted in, I guess, informed by those two theorems. Very robust. From what I have been told from my psychology colleagues, is that it's a game changer for not only leaderology but for psychology as well.
Okay.
And so we're working on some of that. That'll work for a lot of different things, and I'm super pumped about that. That is my practice for the last 8 years has been informing those theorems and models, and it has worked very well, better than I could have ever anticipated. And it was funny, all three, this is the irony, all three of those theorems, while they work together, all three of those I'd been working on for years, and all three had a shower moment where I was in the shower, and probably TMI, but I'm in the shower and I'm thinking about how this works. And then boom, it finally hits after years of working on it. The one piece that I needed fixed this one theorem. And then I'd have another shower moment like 2 months later. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it for that one too. And
Yep.
so it all happened within about 6 months, where the final pieces, I mean, again, I've been working on these for years, where the final pieces to all three of them came together, and the whole piece. So there are three different theorems that work together, but they also work independently. Anyway, so yeah, that's big news on my end. But so yeah, clearly excited about that.
Good stuff. So happy for you. And one final just takeaway for future leaders. If you had to give an advice to someone that's a future leader or someone that just started a leadership role, what would that be?
Oh, wow, man. That's a good question. I guess if I had to, I guess if I had to say something, I would, God, there's so much I could say,
Hmm.
but for future leaders, I would say this. You show me a real expert, I will show you a perpetual student. All right. If you really want to lead, um, understand that graduation isn't the end of the journey, it's the beginning. It's paradoxical.
Yes.
Um, you have to learn, 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 learn. Leaders are readers. Don't be afraid to admit to yourself that you don't know everything.
Oh yeah.
If you really want to find solution, it starts there. Start by just uh, kind of default to the idea that you've probably missed something,
Hmm.
and if you can take that approach and allow your experts, your team to help fill your gaps. I mean, that's the thing, right? Don't hire people that are like you.
No, absolutely not.
Hire, yeah, hire to your weakness, but that
Yes.
requires that you have a robust understanding of what your weakness is.
Self-reflection, self-assessment.
There you go.
Yep.
Or, have a leaderologist help you find those weaknesses.
There you go. There you go. So words of wisdom, young and future leaders, please make sure that you take that to heart. And remember, as Dr. David said at the beginning, be curious, be daring,
Mhm.
walk different paths. You'll
Yep.
learn a lot. We are going to check out. Thank you everyone for listening, and go to our website and check out all the wonderful work that the association is doing and how to connect with everyone in the association.
Thanks for having me.